Now, here for you, this is News Views, a newscast for Champaign-Urbana, Illinois, and the world. This is Bill Ratner speaking. And now, Michael Badger.
Hello and welcome to News View on a Friday night in Champaign-Urbana, Illinois. Top story is that for the first time since August 2010, the unemployment rate in Illinois rose last month and hit 10%. That according to the Associated Press, and you can see that therepublic.com. And they say the State Department of Employment Security Thursday blamed continued weakness in consumer confidence across the country for the increase. The federal government earlier this month said that the national unemployment for September was at 9.1%, but that was unchanged from August, and the state rate was 9.9% in August. The Department of Employment Security says Illinois employers created 1,600 new jobs in September, but that number was despite the number of unemployed people increasing to 663,300, and that's 10,500 more than in August. The biggest job gains were among educational and health services employers, which added 4,900 jobs, while construction-related employers cut 3,000 jobs. And the next story comes to us from WICD 15. The Occupy Wall Street protests continue, with some on Wednesday at the Quad at the University of Illinois. Students took over the Quad, marched, chanted, and held signs. And they say they are protesting what they call serious issues with the University of Illinois and Washington. Participants also said they'd like to see more student involvement, but one who didn't join the march says the Occupy theme is overused and that the events Wednesday made it look like students were protesting only because it's popular and not because they care about issues. That according to Liz Lewis at WICD Channel 15 News. We now go to a story from WCIA.com. Home invasions in Champaign are up, and burglaries are up, and the number of cases reported this year is triple last year almost. And burglaries are up 13% in the city of Decatur, Illinois from 2008 to 2009. And there have been a string of church break-ins in Decatur too. And here we go with our next story from the Chicago Sun-Times. The state has stiffed universities and increased tuition as the result, according to this story. Illinois' 9 public universities are owed more than $500 million by the state, which is part of an ongoing debt that contributes to the rising tuition rates. Spending cuts and increasing class sizes are there too on some campuses. Illinois has turned to a deliberate policy facing these deficits of not paying bills for months at a time. And they say Southern Illinois University is owed $80.8 million as of September 8th. They were owed that, from the state. And SIU froze hiring of the faculty and staff except for critical positions and didn't fill jobs when they opened up. Northern Illinois University in DeKalb was owed $45.6 million as of September 8th. Western Illinois University in Macomb was owed $25.5 million by the state, and Eastern Illinois University in Charleston had administrators relying on internal borrowing and expense cutting to get through the cash crunch, it says. And Illinois State University in Normal, which was owed $37.4 million, has instituted a non-faculty hiring freeze and delayed large equipment purchases. And that according to the Associated Press and the Chicago Sun-Times. And in other news, the University of Illinois Sports Department gets $900,000 a year in waivers. That according to WILL, they're saying the University of Illinois provides more than $900,000 a year in tuition waivers to cover scholarships and for athletes that will continue to provide such support despite a committee's recommendation that this practice stop. According to the Chicago Tribune, the university has provided the money from the general fund since the 1970s. And a campus committee recommended that the waivers be phased out over 5 years as the university looks for other ways to save money. They're instead going to be reduced, and Associate Chancellor Bill Adams was a member on the committee and says the school sports programs would have trouble making up the money if it was eliminated. The waivers began in the 1970s as a way to support women's sports. Among Big Ten schools, only Wisconsin has similar agreements. And that according to WILL. And I'd like to thank you for watching Newsview tonight. I'm Michael Badger, and we'll take a break and come back with more news and weather here on Newsview. Welcome back to Newsview. I'm your anchor man, Michael Badger, for Newsview, and my email address, if you have any questions or comments or complaints, you can write those to me at newsview@email.com. That's the address, and we're going to dive into more news here. 3 top Champaign police officers are stepping down, according to IllinoisHomepage.net, which is WCIA.com too. Ashley Sears says that the Champaign Police Department's 3 main players are stepping away in the next 6 months. Lieutenant Scott Swan will retire in November, And 2 months after that, Chief R.T. Finney will step down, and Deputy Chief John Murphy will walk away in March, she says. The department's been under scrutiny lately. Questions have been raised about promotions, and all three officers that are retiring were named in email as being part of the problem. And city manager Steve Carter said the retirements are purely coincidental. So, our next story is that, we have three more stories. A thief in Indiana used a crane to lift a Jeep off of an Indiana car lot. This is by Michael Kaplan at NBCChicago.com. They say the heist of this 2008 Wrangler took just 6 minutes. The Jeep Wrangler was lifted by crane off a northern Indiana car lot Sunday. A surveillance camera at LaPorte Chrysler captured someone driving a truck with a crane onto the lot, then circling around to park next to the 2008 Wrangler. The thief hooked the Jeep with the crane and loaded it onto a trailer. This operation occurred at 6:40 a.m. Sunday and took only 6 minutes. Matt Manguson, the dealership's general manager, said that the vehicle was likely heavily damaged, considering that the thief clamped the roof, put the jaws through both doors, and then lifted it. The two-door Wrangler is bright red with a snowplow. It had been sold and was sitting in the dealership's back lot. Manguson said the car is still missing, but police are working on 2 leads. And in other news, about the presidential election candidates on the Republican side, Santorum said today that Herman Cain has misled voters on abortion. But Herman Cain's response to this is that he is 100% pro-life. End of story, I believe, is what he said to his followers on social networks. But in an interview Wednesday with CNN, Cain said he believes life begins at conception. But Cain also said it's not the government's role or anybody else's role to make that decision, quote unquote, according to a CNN transcript. On Thursday, Santorum accused Cain in New Hampshire while campaigning of misleading voters about his conservative credentials, meaning Cain's. He said, quote, "It's basically the position that just about every pro-choice politician has in America," unquote. He told the Associated Press that, quote, "I don't know too many pro-choice politicians who are for abortion who want more abortions, but they say the decision is a choice the government shouldn't be involved in," unquote. Santorum then added, quote, that Herman Cain's position, which does not make him pro-life, that is the quintessential pro-choice position on abortion, unquote, said Santorum about Cain's comments and saying that they are further proof that Cain hasn't been tested as a candidate. Santorum also said that it's possible that Kaine could win the election and that viral candidates and virtual candidates can win, but that he believes real politics, particularly in early voting states like Iowa and New Hampshire, still matter. He also went on to say, had Herman been up here doing town hall meetings for a few months, we'd know about him a lot more than we do now. We know a lot more about him than we do now, he said. You may not agree with the positions I hold, said Santorum, but you know the positions I hold. And they're very clear and they're very consistent, quote unquote. That's from Santorum. Continuing the trend of the presidential Republican candidates jumping all over, most of them jumping all over Kaine and each other. And in the last story here before the weather, or maybe a break, then the weather, we'll see. The U.S. unofficial misery index has risen to the highest point since 1983. This misery index, which is simply the sum of the country's inflation and unemployment rates, rose to 13.0, pushed up by higher price data the government reported on Wednesday. This according to CNBC and Reuters. They're saying with gasoline prices high, consumers have less to spend on other things. They also are saying that a decline in the misery index declines due to softer inflation might not help Obama's re-election chances much. They're also saying that Harold Archie, who is a bus driver with the Chicago Transit Authority, knows well the toll that unemployment is taking on Americans. Higher food and gasoline prices have compounded the strain on his finances since his son lost his job. Archie, 57, has been helping him financially and said his son might not have a shot at getting his job back, but with a pay cut, he was only making $13 an hour to start with, and that from Thomson Reuters. And you can read more of that at cnbc.com. And I'm Michael Badger. Thank you for watching NewsView. Stay tuned for the weather next on NewsView. And here's your NewsView weather forecast for tonight, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday night tonight, low 35 degrees Fahrenheit, mostly clear skies and patchy frost in the morning. Saturday, a high temperature of 62 degrees Fahrenheit with mostly sunny skies. Saturday night, partly cloudy skies and 41 degrees Fahrenheit for the low. Sunday, partly sunny skies, high of 63 degrees Fahrenheit. And for your Sunday night, partly cloudy skies and a low of 45 degrees Fahrenheit. And that is your forecast for the Champaign-Urbana and other central Illinois areas right here on NewsView. Stay tuned for the end of NewsView and the credits. Thanks for watching.
Across America, Service Learning is helping students improve their grades and their communities by connecting the classroom with community service. Working together, students solve real problems, build new skills, and apply their knowledge in a whole new way. Inside the classroom and out, Service Learning opens new doors and brings learning to life. Get your school involved. Visit learnandserve.gov to find out how.